This is actually the same day that I recorded. If it becomes a video, maybe it's a video. I started this before and I totally hopped the rails and went somewhere else. Why don't I give it an intro? So we talked about how frontends work and what a backend is. I tried to get across the issues of creating a browser frontend. I didn't really go over any kind of Urbit dream, but the truth is it drifts a little bit away from the ideal version that Urbit's trying to create. As always, I'm Ben Brown. I have a Patreon, patreon.com/BRBenji. The support that I get from there goes to help me make the podcast in one bit, and then the other half goes to my favorite charity, Give Directly. Give Directly. A good thing on this earth. Handing the poorest of the world money to fix their money problems. Pretty dang good. I think that can go very far. One thing I didn't make clear in the last video, if you like Give Directly, go give to them directly. If you like what I'm doing and you're doing the podcast, then that's great. And you can know that half of what I get goes to help me do that and then goes to Give Directly. I'm in no way trying to step in between. I'd be very happy if you choose to support them and not me. This is probably worth talking about a little bit more, but the way that I see charities have this huge issue. There's this huge problem with charities. Charities are not allowed to grow. They're not allowed to spend on advertising because we as a society are it's like, no, you should just be doing your thing. You shouldn't be trying to grow. A lot of that is really good intent, but what it ends up doing is it ends up shackling the charities, even though all of good business practice tells you you should probably spend half of your money advertising and getting the word out and getting the message out and letting people really know what you're doing to increase your impact. We don't let charities do that because we want the dollars that go to them to go directly doing what they're doing. And so there's a great TED Talk of a guy who is like, oh yeah, charities should be advertising. They should be doing a lot better. He did it. They grew really fast. The stuff that they were trying to do, they were able to really do that really fast and really big. And then he just got totally shot down because people were like, look at what these people make. Look at how much they're spending on overhead. That's just to say, they're almost not allowed to be as successful as they possibly could. So their potential is actually reduced because of this social mindset. I guess we really don't know how to have accountability in these kind of business practices. But I think there's an opportunity there for, I suppose I'll just call them creatives. My expertise is musicians. And so I'm a proponent that each musician should choose a charity. And then in the musician's pursuit of getting their music out there, growing their career, if they go and sidecar a charity and that charity comes with them and everything that they do is, hey, this is my charity. This is what I'm all about. As I grow, they get to grow. That's actually a really beautiful partnership. It allows charities to actually grow and reach their full potential. I'm a big proponent of that. I like the patron model over the advertising model where you're selling out your audience. And I like the champion a charity kind of concept. So Give Directly. Let's try to get them as much money as possible. All of that goal. Let's make it happen, okay? Good morning. It's not crazy early this morning. In the tiny house, as always, it's actually a really lovely day. It started really kind of crisp feeling outside. Right now, it's just a nice blue day. Things are nice and green because of the rain, and been a string of really nice temperature days because Texas has nice winters. Ironically, those are the short days, so you got to pick and choose, right? I've got my tea, my Bengal spice, plus a little bit of, I think it was roasted Darjeeling second flush tea. I have no idea what any of those things mean besides roasted. And then, of course, the all-important cream. I have lots and lots of cream all the time because I want a heart attack. I live life dangerously. That's not true. I actually feel really great about cream. Last time we looked at the interval timer app that I, really kind of took to completion, built the back end of it, do the timing thing, and then I built that front end, which is probably what we mostly looked at, the design and the feel of the front end. And then we talked a lot about Urbit and private servers, tried to make a case for taking all that digital stuff that we've sent all around, our digital existence, all that stuff, instead of pushing that responsibility away on a bunch of other people and entities, it's gotten to where, oh, that's what I haven't done. I don't have my headphones. That's why I don't know any of the sound. Let's pop these suckers on. It's a fatal attraction is a little scary. If there's anything juicy on my mind right now, there's a problem that Urbit faces. It's worth some really serious debate. Very much related to what we're talking about because I made that front end. I say front end as if everybody would understand what that means. All the functionality of an app is in the back end. So there's code. When you add something on one side, something comes out the outside of it. A lot of times I think of it as the code eats something and poops something out. Sorry, that's that's me. In Urbit language, you poke the app and then something occurs, right? The ability to poke the app as well as see relevant changes that occurred, that's placed on the front end. While all of that information would be contained as well as manipulated and completely controlled by the back end, all the crazy gobbledygook stuff, the front end makes that to where doing that is like poke of a button or moving a chess piece in a chess game. Letting go of it could be one of these kind of pokes at an agent. It's Penelope, everybody. You say hi? To use focus as an example, over here on the left, I have the front end, the lovely stuff that we're always constantly aware of. This is what we interact with as somebody who didn't build the thing. And then on the right side, I have the back end, and it's all of this coding nonsense. It's like everything that's written down is for the computer to make a decision. Something's coming in, I need to put something out, right? What numbers am I setting here, you know? That's front end. This stuff is back end. That's all you got to see or know. When I think of front end, I think of this stuff on the browser. It doesn't have to be a browser. If you wanted to interact with it directly, you'd be like, oh, focus. I want to make a focus command because I'm silly. Go public. Public, yes. Let's see if it responds. Doesn't really respond with anything. This is going to poke things for you. You have this shell interaction where you can be typing in thingy things, which is it's going to take different keystrokes and it's going to understand things like little colon. That little colon means something. It means I want to talk to my focus app. This little ampersand thing, that means something. It means I am going to give you a command. Focus, you know what that means. There's only a certain list of commands that are possible. If I don't give you a proper command, you'll just ignore it. This is the shape of the command. A public command, and I can say yes or no. I can also ask focus to show me. I'm gonna ask my focus app, little colon there, to run a debug on itself. So it knows what that means. And what it means is it needs to look into itself. Remember I said an app or an agent takes in something. It can get poked, and then it will transform and manipulate what is inside of it. That transformation and change inside, that's what you want to get a window into and see what's happened. Focus, you know a thing called debug, run debug. Version 1, a groove is what I'm calling the overall set of focus for this amount of time, rest for a certain amount of time, focus for 30 minutes, rest for 0 seconds. Tell me when to wrap up 90% of the way of both of those, and then just do one repetition. Time left is I have 29 seconds for the time and 26 seconds for the 90% wrap up. I have a thing called state P, which I think this is the problem because this is my front end and it has become completely integral with the back end. And that's a no bueno. You don't want that. My display is I'm displaying the clock view mode where I'm either focusing or resting, currently focusing. And then I have in state, because I wanted to interact with goals. I think that's dumb. I don't want to do that. I don't think it should understand goals. I want an interface where I can construct a poke for focus and then build a view to look into the state, what's relevant to me. In that exact same place, I would want to have something that helps me build a poke to goal and so that I can tie them together. I was going to say, this stuff is the back end. Over here is the front end, but over here is the terminal, and the terminal is really the key user interface. I guess there's a pun there. Key is that it's like fundamental. It's usually called a shell, which is to say, here's a computer, right? There's all this stuff happening inside of it, but it's really not something any person can really even mess with. There's this whirling digital zeros and ones computer, and on the very outside, as if you encapsulated it like an egg, there's a thing called a shell. Just like how you can't touch a raw egg, your fingers have to touch the shell to even touch and manipulate it. The computer is a raw egg, and you can only reach the shell. And so that's what a terminal is the very edge. It's the very first and fragile place where you can grab the computer. And honestly, like that's where all of the interactions are. And then all the other abstractions are doing exactly that shell manipulation of the computer, but through an order of magnitude above, so that you're not typing every single little bit to make it happen. Like you want something a lot more like tactile. You really want to like interact with it. Yeah, imagine being able to like play a game of chess with a Rubik's Cube. That's kind of interesting. So this front end thing is a user interface, but it's a user interface that is understood by a browser. The browser is probably the most successful interface builder, especially a user interface at a distance. If you want to touch and manipulate somebody else's server from a distance, the most popular way of doing it is to open up a browser, connect to it, and then it can show you how to poke it and interact with it. And the browser, it's a layering over the fact that my computer can't just talk to your computer. Instead, we have to go through a browser so that you can show me how I can interact with your computer, but you had to build a thing for me to do it. And it's really just a failing of computers to know that it wants to connect to another computer. It was a failure of imagination at the onset of computers that we would want the internet. And so now that we know that we want the internet, which is to say, I want my computer to talk to another computer anywhere else, there's certain things that's going to be really useful to make that communication happen, and we do not have it. Urbit does. Urbit has it, and you can have that if you want to do Urbit and you're a patient person and you want to see how it all goes. So this is the browser interface, which is acceptable and popular, and it's all around. I'm starting to really kind of hate it, though. It keeps things in a box. It's not helpful. The shell is also known as a terminal, and there are things called terminal user interfaces, TUI, TMI, that can allow you to like poke and select things. That's not available here on that right side, but it is available in this kind of scenario, right? That's what this guy does. Just opens it up, and you get the terminal, and you can like type stuff. You can also connect one of these sessions to an app. So I think it goes, Uno, please, we're in with that. All right, Nova. I don't think there's space up there, girl. Focus can open up. I can look into the SIR stuff. If I hit enter, oh my gosh. Now look at there. I was able to look at what's called the structure file. That's pretty freaking cool. I think I've set up Minesweeper app, and I'm able to talk through it through these characters. So where I click, it sees it as hits. The session tells the mine app that I hit at these coordinates, X and Y coordinates. Ooh. Ooh. Meep. Okay. We have this snake here, which, everything is being kept track of. Well, it keeps track of the food. Are you supposed to go faster the bigger you get? It has a logic to it. Been a while since I played Snake. I remember playing it on my aunt's Nokia. Uh-oh. I killed myself. There it goes. So tragic, so dramatic, so invigorating. So these front ends come with a problem. Okay, this would be a John Vervaeke thing. I didn't talk about John Vervaeke, but I feel like I do need to. Whenever you're going to interact with something, whether it's in the real world or a game, basketball, right? Like you want to grab it and you want to manipulate it and you want to shoot it. You need control. You need an optimal grip. You need to get into contact with that thing, a really good contact for manipulation. In a similar way, you also need like a nice mind-body connection so that you can make moves and manipulate yourself almost with like an optimal grip towards gravity and surfaces of the floor to move around in, right? If all that stuff is loosey-goosey, if you're too much in your head and not enough in your body, in your connection to whatever you're trying to manipulate and change, you can't operate. You're not eating that, are you? All right. Got myself running across the thing. You gonna come join me again? No. You gonna come up here too? All right. I'm not a money lover. Is there anything else to... I was trying to... I was doing optimal grip. Okay, so like you have to consider for optimal grip when you're going to grab something really good. As examples, I was using physical things. But the truth is, you can also get an optimal grip on abstract things. To kind of bridge the gap, you can almost think of glasses or vision. You've ever popped up from water or being really sleepy and your eyes are like working on trying to see in good focus, and then eventually it can snap into the optimal grip for your eye. Imagine somebody's like, hey, look over there. Yeah, do you see that deer? And your eyes are like doing like this. You. You're like, what kind of detail? Like, how far away? Like boo, boo, boo. And eventually, and you got the optimal grip. And so that can be true of like abstract thoughts. Like imagine learning math. There is an unoptimal grip, like how American public schools teach math, or you could do it like how other places, like literally anybody who is good at math, all it was when they were a kid, they were given an optimal grip on numbers in math that persisted and snowballed into amazing careers. And I think computers are in this problem too. Okay, there's coding and there's having to do stuff, but it's still not optimal. It's still not optimal for my body to manipulate and touch the computer. And it's definitely not perfectly optimal that it's like, oh, I have this like dynamic piece of paper, this two-dimensional dynamic piece of paper. I have this mouse that I can click on or a finger and I'm just boop, 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 boop. It's just not that good. Some of the most amazing changes that have happened with the interaction of humans and computers are things like with your phone where you have like pinch zoom, bring your fingers together to get further away from something, bring your fingers farther apart to get closer. That's an amazing thing. Like a gesture of like trying to like grip something and move it. Like one of my favorite programs is Vim. Instead of interacting with words, you click on it and then you get to like enter in words. Vim, once I got good at it, it almost felt like I could use my hands to grab the words and like I can move it like boom, grab all this stuff. In fact, I want to just delete it, jump to all the way down here and then paste it in. And it's like, I'm like grabbing this stuff and I'm ripping it out and I'm putting it where I want it. This thing in my hand, I want it to happen like 20 times. Grab all these things, yank it, go to the bottom here 20 times. We're going to insert it. It's amazing. It's grip, slap, boom, And that is an optimal grip on a page of text. Boom, make another screen. Change that screen through exploring, focus. Let's go to the app. Inside the focus app, take me to on poke, baby. Look at that. Oh, yes. This is my inkling of what I want. Star Trek UI. I bet you that this is going to come up. Check out this. One of these buttons were used to help you construct pokes to your app. So your poke is your little input to interact with it to make things transform inside of it. What would be the elements that we need to construct a poke? We already kind of looked at one. You need an agent, you need a mark, and you need, here, let's do this. Continue. That is shorthand for yes. Once you have a poke, it can ping pong around. So it's going to want to verify. So it takes the mark and wants to verify what that means. It uses that to make a choice. This trail here, there will be an alternative to focus here in a bit. Instead of a focus command, it could also be a handle HTTP request. If I was to have a poke constructor, it'd be like, oh, here's a list of agents. Once you click on the agent, you have, here's the possible marks. In my case, either focus command or handle HTTP response. If I select focus command mark, then the focus command means that what I've sent it, which is called a vase, it will take the shape of a command, and this is a command shape. If it's a command, it has to be one of these 6 things, a pause or a continue. Once I select a focus command, then it could pop up these guys, right? Which one of these things do you want? Do you want to rename these things to make it easier? Do you want to create a macro of these pokes? And then now it's a button that's like start timer. And then once you've selected something like continue, you can say yes or no, right? Is it going to work when I poke my app, this command, continue yes? I guess I need to refresh. There we go. Look at that. Pause. That's my dream. I would love to do a little Star Trek. Select the agent, select the appropriate mark, maybe even hide things that you don't need to see, get the appropriate set of possible commands. And then the other trick would be to see the focus debug. Let's see what's going on in here, because then I know this is when the time stops. I don't know. I mean, I could try. As long as I knew what I was doing. Well, a fatal attraction is a little scary.